DJ Abomination Remix.
Welcome back to the Team Nerd Herd podcast, where our best advice is if you want to do it right, collect what you like. And Team Nerd Herd, we are super excited to bring you yet another comic book creator spotlight, a segment we like to call What Happens If We Don't Shut the F Up? Well, guess what? You're going to find out tonight. But before we introduce our special guest, let me get a little roll call to the Team Nerd Herd podcast. What's going on, Alonzo? How's it going, my brother?
Hey, it's just another day in paradise, man. Thanks a lot, Steve. This is Alonzo, aka Comics and Pops, your comic book nerd and your pop culture fanatic. And today in the house, we also have Mr. Sithlordly himself. What's going on, Steve?
Yo, I just want to give a big thanks to the Team Nerd Herd posse for having me over, man. Sithlordly, just representing, Azor's Tiger and the Spinetick's homies. I want to give a big shout out to Lady Sithlordly and shout out to Alan and Carla.
Yo,
let's give it over to Big Rob.
Hey, it's Big Rob. I'm just luring on StreamYard today and hanging out with Team Nerd Herd. And let's move it on to Dave.
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Nick here, Fireshell Comics. Yeah, man, I'm excited about today's show. It's Saturday. It's a lazy day for me. So yeah, let's do this. What's going on, JR? How you doing, bud?
Nothing much. Just got done doing some taxes for some people. And ready to have some fun. This is JR, Rogue's Law, your resident asshole, your Star Wars nerd, your Marvel nerd, and straight up nerd. What's up, Ian? How are you doing, sir?
And yo, what's up? This is Hood Rat Comics. You can find me over there on Instagram, man. I'm just your schizophrenic collector of all things real and all things digital, man. I'm gonna pass it back up to Hip Hops. What's up, bro?
What's going on? And I'm just your 112 scale collector, comic book lover, and chaser of all things nostalgic. Now, Herd, you might have read our special guests today, most definitely, on Mind Management. Dark Horses, bang. And if you're an independent guy like myself, then you were fortunate enough to see the trifecta that happened last week. In Dark Horse Fear Case 2, you got your ENIAC by Bad Idea. You got record-breaking Boom Studios title, co-creator with Keanu Reeves, writer, our friend to the podcast, Mr. Matt Kindt. Matt, thank you so much for joining the show. We appreciate you.
How are things going, Matt?
Hi, Matt.
How is things over there in St. Louis?
Yeah, pretty good. It's warming up, I'm thinking about going outside.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm not gonna. I'm just thinking about
it. Well, we really appreciate you on the show. I mean, we're big fans of the show here at the Team Nerd Herd. And our staple here is to open up with your comic book origins, your origins. Give us a little opening on who Matt Kindt is and where it all started.
Man, it probably started where a lot of us here started, which is like 7 years old. And then we just picking up whatever was on the rack. Like in my case, I was in a small town, so we had a spinner rack at the grocery store. So I would take the bottles, like leftover Coke bottles, and cash those in for whatever money we could, and then buy as many comics as I could with it. And what was it back then? It was like G.I. Joe, the original G.I. Joe series was coming out, and then Daredevil right after Frank Miller. So I caught like the tail end of Frank Miller's run.
Oh, yeah, man.
And then, everything of that era, if it was Marvel and I had, I was probably buying it, and then I would buy, what was it? Like All-Star Squadron, some of the weirder DC books. I'd buy a few of those and I have no idea what was happening. Yeah. I still kind of liked them because they were weird, but yeah, I was a Marvel kid.
It's those crazy timelines that DC had. It's like all this stuff happening here, then all this stuff happening there. It's
a lot.
It's madness.
That's why they had Crisis.
Yeah.
Put it all together.
Yeah. Even when Crisis was coming out, I was like, why are they doing this? I don't understand. Like, what's happening? Who are these characters?
I think most of us were, Matt. I definitely believe that.
Yeah.
So Matt, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. So what part of the country did you grow up in?
Mostly between. I was in Lexington, Missouri, which is near Kansas
Okay.
City, small town outside of Kansas City, and then I kind of grew up there. And then by high school, I was here in St. Louis, and I've been in St. Louis since then. I met my wife here, went to art school, and then whatever, just been working here. It's a good city to live in for a cartoonist on a cartoonist wage, you know, especially when you're starting out.
Yeah.
You know, it's affordable.
Oh, yep. And when did you first know that you were going to become a writer? You know?
I don't know. Just this year is the first year I was like, am I just a writer? I think I'm only a writer of comics. I haven't drawn a book in over a year, or at least a year. And but yeah, I always considered myself to be an artist, you know. Even up until like a year ago, I was like, I'm an artist. I draw and write, you know. And then this year it's just like I have the demand for the writing is up, and then the drawing is so slow that it's like I want to draw books, but I would rather get more story ideas out of my head, you know, than take a whole year to draw a book. So I'm still drawing something, and but it just takes longer, and I do it in the background.
So Matt, what was the first book that you drew?
The first book I drew, man, if you want to go back to the very, very beginning, my brother, who got me on the comics, he was like 6 years older than me. Back when I was in like 8th grade, I think we were cooking up an idea for a Marvel comic. You know, and I bought the How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, and I had those pages, and I was trying to figure out how to make them. And so my brother wrote a story about a watcher who kind of goes rogue. And then he decides he's going to get involved. He's done watching. He's going to start taking action. And so like he had a big gun and everything, like, and he was running around. And so that was the very first comic book story I drew.
You need to pitch at the Marvel. Make it happen.
Oh, man.
It's so bad. I still have those pages.
They could
It's
do
a
it
limited
next year,
edition
though,
to one, though.
101.
I'm sure that had to have been done by now, right? I don't know.
Well, I mean, you got Nick Fury as the Watcher now, so I mean, it'd be very easy to do it.
That's crazy. Yeah, so that was the first thing, and so I kind of wanted to do comics, but really up until I got out of art school, I was like, my art's not ready. I'm not ready. Like the stuff's not good enough, and so I just kept working on like mini comics and until I felt like I was ready. And then Pistol Whip was the first book that I was published, and that was the first time I felt like, oh, this is good enough. I could maybe get published, and then it happened.
So when that did happen, you know, what were your feelings in writing that premise with the first title being going out there and finding out that here you are, and you know you're hitting with a big splash and coming into the industry? What did that really, you know, what did that feel like? It's just for a lot of us fans, we always get a chance to talk to the writers and at Comic Cons, and everybody has a story, and I think that's the most exciting thing is we want to know, and I know our viewers want to know, how did that feel coming in, you know, with Pistol Whip? I mean, I know that's some of your beginnings. Yeah.
No, it felt like a long shot and a pipe dream, and then I was like, I don't think this is good. I'll give it a try, you know. And then because the first Pistol Whip was kind of a weird book. It's like a 40s sort of like crime book, but kind of funny and weird and not like anything that was out there. And so I took it. I made little mock-up copies of the book, like a square bound and everything, with like a bunch of little stuff that went with it, little trading cards and like a little fake cigarette with like my website on it, and you puff on it and fake smoke will come out. So I put all that together in a package, and then just gave it to Dark Horse, gave it to Slave Labor and Fantagraphics and Top Shelf and gosh, who else? Like all the small publishers. I went to San Diego, got a table, had nothing to sell. I just set up there in case the publisher one that I gave it to was going to come over and like really love it, and then they didn't, you know. So it was just like dropping those packages off with the publishers. It was just like, you just felt like you're dropping like a stone into the ocean, you know. It's like, this is, you know, it's just like such a crazy thing. But I was like, I got to give it a shot. I don't know how else. I didn't know anybody in the industry. I didn't know how like to break in. There's no, you couldn't have an agent that would like help sell your stuff or anything. People weren't using agents at the time. And but yeah, I went home, and then a week later I got a call from Top Shelf. Chris Staros at Top Shelf called, and he's like, hey, we love this book. We want to publish it just as is. And that was it. Like I think I drew a new cover for it, or designed a new cover, and then everything else was exactly as it was. And then it was still another 10 years of grinding, making comics before it actually became a living, but it was my way in.
But that's the journey. I mean, that's the greatest part of the journey, is it's just all the hard work and getting to this, you know, to having all your work out there to us fans and us just being excited to read it. I know Alonzo, I know you have a question about Bang, right?
Yeah. So how did you come up with this? I mean, I think it's very like fourth wall breaking, the way it's kind of like written, and how all of these characters are characters that we kind of know, but they don't know that they're actual characters. I mean, it's great. It's like Inception.
Yeah, no, you know what's funny? That idea, it didn't come about because of that, but it came about because I that a long time ago, Jeff Lemire and I had talked about doing Black Hammer together, and I remember there was a point where like I was maybe going to draw it, we were going to co-write it, and we would flip back and forth, or we would just both draw and write, or I don't know. We hadn't really figured it out, and then I kind of got cold feet. I was like, I don't want to do superheroes. I just don't. I was like, I wasn't in the mood for it, you know. And then, but I was in the mood for like doing like a shared universe and like colorful characters and different things. And so like years later, I'm like, man, I still want to do something like that, but not superheroes. And so it kind of came about that like that. I'm like, well, what am I interested in? What if it's not going to be superheroes, which I've grown up with, and like the only reason I'm not is because I've read so much of it. Like I've read like 40 years of superheroes. I don't really want to. I don't know that I can even do to bring to that genre anymore, you know. And so but I was like, well, what do I like? And what I really like is like the old pulp stuff, like Doc Savage and The Shadow, and those like Philip Marlowe and like those old detective crime books and everything. And I was like, well, that's what I'll do. I'll do like a shared universe where the characters are like a Doc Savage type guy and a Shadow type person, and then a detective, and then I started writing like an outline for that. And then I was like, you know what? Nobody cares about Doc Savage anymore. Nobody cares about those characters. I was like, this is like it's like a whatever commercial suicide. And I was like, no one except like the super hardcore nerds. Because there are some out. Every time I say that, they're like, "No, I love Doc Savage." Yeah, I know you do, but we're like the 0.00% of people that like that. And but then what I started thinking about, I just started analyzing like pop culture and like those characters, and it's like, well, that DNA is still here, right? Like the Doc Savage and the Shadow and the detective, those every generation has that. You know, that's just the one from the 40s, and then the 50s had one, and the 60s had one. And then I was like, well, what if I did it? But it was more inspired by like 80s, like my childhood growing up. Like It's weird that I like Doc Savage, which was written before I was born. I was like, what about something that's nostalgic for the era I grew up in, which is 80s, which was A-Team and Knight Rider and Murder, She Wrote and Moonlighting and Magnum P.I. and
come on, John McClane.
Yeah, Die Hard's in there, and then
we salute you.
Yeah, James Bond, of course, right? Like that's the stuff we were talking about earlier. It's like we all grew up kind of watching the same thing, reading the same thing.
Definitely.
I was like, well, why don't I'll tap into that, and because those are just archetypes that are Doc Savage and the Shadow. Like you can draw a line straight back from through those characters to the older stuff. And so that was sort of my brainstorm. Like I can make it kind of fun and sort of like put twists on like the idea of a Knight Rider, you know, and then sort of combine some of that. Like she's sort of combined. It's like Knight Rider, Magnum P.I. put together, and she's a woman, but she's also whatever. I just
no. I mean,
that sounds awesome.
It's
And
great. I mean, I love it. I mean, I like especially how you mentioned John McClane, Angela Lansbury's, Murder She Wrote. I mean, you put them all in issue 2, and I was like, oh my god, this is so great. How they all like rely on their own like special power to get away from the bad guy. I mean, it's fantastic. And to your point about this hybrid character that's like supposed to be Michael Knight and Kit, I mean, she's awesome. That character is fantastic. I love her. And they're like, oh, her name is Queen. I'm like, oh, this is great. Instead of a knight, you have a queen. I'm like, this is perfect.
Yeah, no, it's good. And she's got a couple of Dobermans. I think Wilfredo put those in there as like a nod to Magnum PI at the end.
Yeah.
She's got the Dobermans.
They got to cue the opening. That's to the song.
Yeah, I know, right? Oh
Yeah.
man, those theme songs are so good. Too.
Oh, good, man.
I think in our era, we saw the best of television. I just gotta say.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah. No, we
Tell me,
did.
Matt. Tell me, Matt. What was your favorite shows in the '80s, man? Like, come on, let's go. Like, let's go back in time.
I listed every one of my favorite shows, like all of those that I said, plus probably.
Why wasn't Airwolf mentioned?
I
said
I like Airwolf, but I don't know if
Airwolf was dope.
Oh yeah.
I missed some
Doesn't
of it.
hold
Or
up.
it aired at a time where if it was on too late. I don't know what it was, but that's one I liked. But I think, and then the movie too. It was like I was too young. It was an R-rated movie, so it was like, can I watch this? Are they gonna let me? And I only saw like bits and pieces of it. Right? No, it wasn't. Airwolf wasn't a movie. I'm thinking of what's the helicopter movie though?
I know. What was the helicopter?
Blue
one,
Thunder.
guys?
Blue Thunder.
Blue Thunder.
Yeah,
Blue
Blue
Thunder.
Thunder.
Yeah.
Roy
oh,
Scheider.
damn.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very
Oh
nice.
yeah.
Blue Thunder was dope.
It's zooming in to where the woman is like in front of the window,
Yeah.
R-rated material. Of course, I
come
saw it
that's
as a
the-
kid.
How
I
come that's
still
the
don't think
only
I've
thing we
seen that.
remember?
I haven't seen all of that.
We'll send
I
it
like
to you.
the idea of it.
We'll have to hop into the DeLorean and take it to
Take it down.
go
Yeah.
right to the past.
But another one that kind of goes.
And I was just talking. Wilfredo and I have cooked up for book 2 of Bang. We're going to start over this summer. There's a really messed up version of the A-Team that we figured out that's like really messed up. Like it's so funny. Like I just can't wait. I can't wait to start writing it.
Oh man, I love it when a plan comes together.
So another thing that kind of goes to
that
the
was
80s.
probably my favorite of all the shows. A-Team was probably my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
B.A. Baracus.
I was a big
I
fan
know.
of Divinity.
Of what?
Divinity that you did with Valiant a few years back,
Oh yeah.
where they turned the whole universe into Stalin world
Yeah.
by the third arc. Did any of you guys read that book by any chance?
I have not, but I will.
I want to say, wasn't like the Russians sent three astronauts into space, and the first book was the first astronaut come back, and then by the time the third one came, the second one was the other one, and she just rearranged the whole world to be Stalin, like if Stalin had won the Cold War and everything, and it was nuts.
No, I would say like even if you've never read a lot of Valiant stuff, Divinity stands on its own. Like, and
Yes.
honestly, it's one of my favorite books I've written. Like, I think that character and the story and everything is one of my favorite things.
Yeah, it was a pretty amazing book.
So how was it back in the day? You worked. Did you start with Dinesh when he started Valiant, or was it before that?
Yeah, I was it was Dinesh. They had gotten Valiant off the ground, so it was like a year in when Warren gave me a call and asked me to start writing Bloodshot, and then and that was it. So I think I missed the first year of the relaunch, and then I was in till the end. At the end of the first their run on it. But
How was it working with Dinesh and those guys at Valiant? Like, there's a lot of hardcore Valiant guys out there, man, and we're Dinesh is a friend of this channel too. Like, so we're big fans of him also, man. So
yeah, no. Here's what I'll say is I love Dinesh and Warren. Like working with those guys the years I did at Valiant. There was a point where I was like, I was really the thing I like most is working with them, and getting to get on the phone with them every couple of days and talk story and work on stuff and like just having the dialogue back and forth with ideas and even being involved in some of the marketing and everything. It was like we just really hit it off. And so, what was I going to say? But yeah, so when they started Bad Idea, like I was one of the first persons they talk to about it, and I was like, yeah, let's do it, let's keep it going, you know. And the thing about the Valiant fans, what I noticed is like I go to like 10 or 15 conventions a year, right? And so you kind of have an idea of what the readership is and who's coming up and having the conversations. And what I noticed was like there would be readers that read only Marvel books, right? And they come up and they would just have me sign their Marvel books. And then DC readers or Marvel and DC readers, they come up and I'm just signing those books, and that's fine. The Valiant readers would come up and I would sign their Valiant books, and then they would have some of my other books. And then the books that they didn't have, they'd be picking those up. So I feel like Valiant readers are interesting to me because it's more like me, where I like reading everything. It's like Marvel and DC is great, but it's not the only thing, you know. And so I feel like the Valiant readers they've already made this leap where they're already buying something that's not the big two, right? They've already made like a leap to try something different, you know, and explore that, you know. So to me, they're my favorite readers because they're willing to branch out, you know. And I think a lot of people stick in their own lane, you know, and you just kind of read the same thing over and over. And then the danger of that is maybe you get bored or burned out on comics. And because I did, like back in the 90s, is like I got sort of sick of reading the same thing over and over again, and then I kind of stopped for a year. And then, but then some other weird book will pop up and it pulls you back in, and then you start reading a bunch of stuff and realize it's not comics you're burned out on. It's just like a kind of a genre or a kind of comic you get tired of.
Yeah. You know, Matt, I'm not sure if anyone has brought up to you that Berserker reminds them of Dungeons and Dragons, but when I first heard the title, this book from the 80s, Monster Manual, came to mind, and in it is a character called the Berserker. Yeah. And this was like a nonstop fighting machine, right? Yeah. And so this, you know, whether you meant it or not, was nostalgic to me, you know, for, immediately that conjured in my mind being a child of the 80s and doing this stuff. So I was just wondering what your inspiration for that title was.
That's great. I love the art on that old cover. That's an older one than I.
It's OG, man. OG. Yeah. You can see even the remnants of like a decal and everything.
Classics never die.
Awesome, dude.
So Matt, whether you intended or not, man, cool. I mean, there's a whole generation of D&D players, and your comic book is evoking this nostalgia, right? Built-in nostalgia to want to read it.
Yeah. No, that's fun. You know, what's funny is like Keanu had a lot of that when I went into the room to meet him for the first time. He had a lot of that stuff figured out, like the idea that he's sort of berserker and the sort of the basic concept. He had that already. So when I came in, I was like, oh, okay, because I'm coming from so D&D. Here's my history with D&D is I had the books, I had the Monster Manual and all the rules, and I would read through those and look at it, but I never had friends to play it with.
Exactly. I know how that is.
I had a little bit of a sheltered childhood.
You know what, Matt? You have to come for our celebrity D&D, man. We're over StreamYard, so now you have someone to play with.
Here's the thing: is like I'm terrible at it. I've tried it as an adult now, right? You think I can write, and I would be good at it. I'm not good at all at it.
You might be a good DM, not necessarily a player.
It'll be entertaining to watch.
Yeah, I'm so bad. I tried it a couple times. I'm like, I can't do it. I just want to look at the books.
So, Matt, I was going to ask you about Fear Case 2. And in writing it, I know, like, as soon as it sucked me right in as soon as I read True Detective mixed with The Ring, you know, and in getting into the first issue, I mean, I was sucked right in. I love that, you know, you have these secret agents trying to, you know, that are given this task. They're, you know, giving them each this task as it goes down the line. It's been tied into history, you know, in current events and calamities like wars and stuff like that. But the people that get that case have only 3 days to give it to somebody they hate, or it goes to somebody they love. I mean, that in a whole story, just from beginning to end, was just a wild ride. And in reading issue 2, oh my God, the art itself is just amazing. I mean,
see it.
Let's go ahead and open this bad boy up.
Track it, man.
No gloves, no nothing. We're going
raw dog.
There
That's
we
it.
go. That's how it's
Awesome.
supposed to be, man. You got to touch the
That's
comic.
That's the
Yeah,
nostalgia.
put
of
them
it.
fingerprints
Yeah,
on them, bro.
touch it.
You gotta
Pet it.
sniff it.
Yeah, pet it.
Get
snip
that
it.
smoke. Get
Let
that
me-
smell, bro.
Oh man, I love
Oh,
the
it's
smell
worth
of the book. Let me go ahead and show you guys the ending of the cliffhanger here. Like, this is just amazing
Spoilers.
artwork. Spoilers. I mean, you get to this part. I mean, if that's not horror
Oh,
and invoking like a feel, I don't know what is. I mean, this is just. I
Wow.
was looking at this. I had to sleep at night, but I did some night reading, and I might have slept with the light on, might have not. I'm not going to tell the truth, but I mean, this is just an amazing read, Matt. I mean, I could see this be on film. It just by reading it. And that's why I was saying earlier. I love that you're very dynamic in your writing. You go from, berserker, just coming in and mowing people down to this horror, true detective crime. How are we going to find out? Are we one step forward or one step back? And it's just an amazing read. I mean, you have done some amazing work, but Fear Case has got me championing this.
Chomping.
Yes, this
Chomping.
chomping at the bit to get to the next issue. So
He
can
does
you
speak
please?
English.
Yeah,
Use your words.
sometimes
It is his first language.
it is.
no, I appreciate it. Fear Case is the first horror book I've done, and I felt like horror was a genre I haven't done. There's two genres I hadn't done yet. One is like a romance book, and then one is horror. And I haven't done a comedy one. I haven't done a straight up funny one, but but I didn't want to do one unless I felt like I had something unique I could bring to it, And it was funny. I was listening to a podcast, an interview with Stanley Kubrick this week, and he was saying the same thing. It's like when he was working on The Shining, is he didn't want to do. He wasn't interested in doing a horror movie unless he could bring something to it, make something new or bring a different angle to it. And so I felt like that was me. I waited so long because I don't really think in those terms, and I think it's hard to make a comic book that's scary, or suspenseful, because the readers has so much control of the pace and what they're how they're taking it in, so the horror, the suspense has to come from the actual idea, and so that's harder. It's harder. You can't jump scare somebody in a comic, and, so you have to scare them with an idea. And so that's what I was trying to do, is just try to get people to think, and then also have like a sort of a moral dilemma, but then make it also kind of like a really horrible decision you have to make.
Oh yeah, it's definitely. I mean, to be forced to give. Well, it's easier to think about. I'm going to give it to somebody I hate, or before you even know that it's going to go to someone you love. So I mean, that's such a quarrel to be in. But my God, I mean, if this is your first horror, I can't wait to see, like, as we go down the line and getting into the meat of the story. I'm super excited.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Well, that's what that story came out of I wanted to do something like, I really like the Cthulhu sort of mythos, and like the monsters and that sort of like creeping dread of that subgenre of horror. And so I have tons of outlines of different ideas for that. Nothing worked. Like there ended up being more sci-fi or more something else, and I couldn't figure it out and everything. And so this came out of that, which isn't really that, but it came out of my desire to do something in that world. But it's not really, like, to me, what I love about this series is that there could absolutely be nothing supernatural at all in it at all. It could be completely just in people's heads, and that's I wonder about something where it could be either way, And again, I was watching a thing about The Shining last week, and there's nothing supernatural in it until the door gets unlocked for him when he's trapped inside, and then the door's unlocked. Then all of a sudden you're okay, something else is going on. But until then, you don't know. You can just be crazy, So anyway, I was trying to do something like that, I guess.
I was just curious, what directors and writers inspire you? It sounds like obviously Kubrick inspires you. I mean, is there anyone else?
I sort of have a fascination with Kubrick because I feel like he's so different than me. Like he's always like 100 miles away from the character and what they're thinking and what's going on, And like I'm the opposite. I want to be right in there, and I want to hear what they're thinking and then pretend that I'm that person and be in there and feel all of it. And he's like the opposite, which is why I'm fascinated by his stuff, because it really does. When you're watching it, you do. You're the one thinking about it. He's not telling you what to think at all, and so it's
you kind of feel like you're a voyeur, right? You kind of feel like you're a voyeur when you're watching. I see it now. I didn't really notice it, but now I do. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
And so anyway, I feel like I'm the opposite. I just want to get in there. I want you to know every thought most of the time. But yeah, who else? I just a lot of writer directors. What's his name? I think it's Stephen Conrad, the guy that wrote and directed Patriot for Amazon. It's a limited series. There's 2 seasons of it. He's one of my favorite TV writers. What else? The Leftovers TV show is one of my favorites. What else as far as movies go? I don't know. I like all the stuff I like all the nerdy stuff we grew up with too. Somebody talked about Back to the Future earlier, but I don't know.
Oh, we're big Back to the Future guys right here.
Oh yeah. I actually saw a DeLorean being tugged down Los Angeles today as I'm picking up my comics. They had a model. They had a model of the DeLorean just hooked up and just driving by. I tried to get a shot. I'm like, no.
Nice.
But it was amazing.
Come on, man. If you're a fan of Back to the Future, how about Weird Science, man? Weird Science, any?
Check.
Weird.
Yeah.
Check Weird Science, man.
That in general.
And Oingo Boingo, man.
That's what I'm saying, right? But Weird Science is like introduces to women, man. All this like little 80s kids.
Yeah, it doesn't hold up anymore.
I know.
Canceled.
Don't tell me that. I might put it on later.
Yeah, you'll get canceled.
So Matt, I mean, one thing we're really excited about on this channel, man, is a Bad Idea. Dinesh is a really good friend of the show. Like I said before, he came on a few times. How was that, man? You were in it from the get-go, right?
Yeah, for sure. I've been working on ENIAC. I probably wrote the first issue a year and a half ago. It's been a while, and then I was working on things before then. When they were launching, they flew out to LA and had a meeting with Warren and Dinesh, and I brought a folder full of 40 story ideas. Stuff that I hadn't gotten to, stuff that I'm thinking about working on, all these different things. And I was like, look, let's look at these, see if there's anything, see if it spurs new ideas. And then we just had a couple of long meetings where we game planned what stories we wanted to do, what they liked of what I had on tap, and then came up with a few new ones. And I have years of work to do. In that meeting, I'm still I'm not done. I'm working on things now that are just we talked about 3 years ago. So,
and isn't there another title you have coming out with Bad Idea coming up?
Yeah, now I got to be careful because I don't know what they've announced yet, but I know
Whalers. I want to say
Whalesville.
Whalesville.
Yeah.
It's a double issue, so it's Whalesville, and then the backup story is Rocks and Minerals.
Yeah, I remember him telling about that.
Oh yeah, I can't wait for that. I mean, the artwork looks amazing, and then just knowing that, I mean, I look at it and I'm just like, I need that in my hands right now. When I was talking to Dinesh, I was telling him that I'm like, I just got to read this, but can you please tell Matt that I can't wait for Whalesville?
He's very hands-on.
Yeah, no, it's Whalesville's good, and it's what's great about Bad Idea too is what I was telling you earlier, I don't know what I can bring to the superhero genre that hasn't been done better already, right? And so what's great about Bad Ideas is we don't really have to, we can tell any kind of story. It's just like working on my own independent books. There's Whalesville is I guess it's young adult. It's an all ages book. Any age can read that story, but there are some heavy things in there that will just go over kids' heads, So it's a weird story, and then ENIAC is, I guess it's science fiction. I don't know what genre you put that in, but yeah. So there's that, and then the backup stories that we're doing with Dave Lapham, the Hero Trade ones, the suitcase, the first one.
Yeah.
So we've done 4 or 5 of those. I can't remember how many we've done so far, but it's a series of short stories. It's sort of all fit together, and those are some of my favorite things too. But and that's as close as we've gotten to superhero. And it's what's cool about those is it's in the superhero universe, but we never see the superhero. You see like the aftermath or like the side effect or like a piece of something or but you never really see the hero. It's about the person, the like criminal dude that is something bad.
Yeah, that was the most interesting part, and also being able to see it in ENIAC and getting a taste of that. I know Ian was lucky enough to get the crown jewel of Hero Trade, and my God, I mean, that caused the market to really shift. I mean, it was a book that everybody must have. Matt, I got to tell you, I know I'm envious of Ian, and I'm looking at him with scorn right now.
Yo, Matt. Let me ask you something. Do you have people knocking at your door for the first print, the first print ENIAC? Because it's a book people want, man. You know, it's a pretty this one right here.
More. I don't have a copy yet.
Yeah, the white label.
What? I don't either.
I was like, the comps are on the way. Here's the thing, bad idea. It is really like all the guys you know, like Hunter, Dinesh, Warren, Josh, like that's who we are. So there's not like a big marketing department. There's not like shipping department or whatever. So what I like is that it makes us like we can add pages here or there if we want to. It's just like, does the story need it? Let's add 5 pages. Like ENIAC, we did that a couple times, you know, and Doug thought he was done drawing it, and we're like, I got a new 5-page, and so he, but that's what's great about it. So yeah, my comps aren't here, but they're on the way. They said so.
But you know, man, it's like it's a print to order, man. Like the not the first print, like so, like there's plenty of them out there, man. They're coming. I have one coming from Golden Apple. Me and Steve are big customers of them, you know. So I mean, I won't lie, man. I won't lie. Matt, you're going to hate me, bro, but I haven't cracked it yet, man, because I just can't.
Yeah,
I just don't want to.
I'm going
to wait till the second print. I'm gonna send this to CGC and get a 9.8. It's a 9.8 put on my wall, man. So, but yeah, man, congratulations on ENIAC, man. Like, and I want to ask, man, how was it, man, the transition to be from an artist to be a writer, man? That must have been like, I mean, as an artist, you're doing a story, but like, you know, but you're kind of following. But you're, you know, if you're writing it, you know, you're doing art to your own art. But most of the time, you're doing art for other people. How was it for you to transfer to be on the other side of it? You know, being a writer, and now someone's doing art for you. You know?
Yeah, no, it's great. Writing's so much easier.
I bet, right?
Writing is the easy part, and I know artists will say something different, but having done both, I can tell you that the artist does the most work and it's the hardest part, you know, because they're pouring the most hours in it. It doesn't matter how slow a writer you are, the artist is always putting more hours in, you know. And so like I think writing and drawing my own stuff, it made me really aware of visual storytelling and trying to write 2 things. One is write something that's fun to draw, you know, that's not boring, like just 2 people talking or that kind of just people walking around. There needs to be a visual something, a hook, not just for the reader, but so you don't get super bored of drawing it, you know, because you're staring at that page like hours a day. And having done it, I don't want to draw. I would get to pages of my own stuff. I'm like, I don't want to draw that page because I know it's just 9 panels of them talking about something, and so knowing that, I avoid writing pages like that because I think I want to keep the story kinetic, and then the always something interesting to draw on every page, and so that's one thing. The other thing is different artists like to draw different things. Like I hate drawing horses and cars, so I never put them in my stories that I draw because I just don't want to draw those. but I know that every artist is different, so I like having a conversation with an artist when we start a thing. Like, what do you like to draw? Or if I know who they are already, like with Tyler on Fear Case and Doug, I've worked with him before, and so I know what he wants, you know. And you just kind of try to write something to set them up so they can knock it out of the park, you know, and sort of tee it up for them.
We got a writer here on our podcast. You know that? Like he has a book out. He's this guy. Like you guys, you know, this guy writes a book too.
Yeah, I mean, I mess around. I used to do work a lot with the artists and do trading cards and art descriptions, and I kind of just transferred from art descriptions into writing my own books. But as you let on, Matt, it's the artists do much more work than the writers, and it's a long process to get your stuff out, especially when you're dealing with artists who are part-time and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's why, but that's why I ended up doing more writing, is because the art is so time consuming. And I do, like, I have a folder, that folder of 40 ideas is like probably a third bigger now than when I started. It never goes away. So it just gets bigger. So like that pressure to like get every idea out before I die is intense. It's like, I can't be drawing everyone.
That had to feel good though. With Dinesh just asking you, hey, dig into the book and see what, pull something out of there. You're like, really, dude, really? Did you want to use these old things that I've just put off to the side? I'm sure you felt pretty excited about that whole process. You're like, you don't want something brand new, Like most people want brand new,
Yeah, no, they got a mix. They got brand new stuff, and then what's funny? It was fun to show them that folder because they picked a handful of ideas out of there that I was like, I don't see it. I didn't,
You'd given up on it long ago.
Yeah, I was like, there's a reason why I didn't do them. It's because I didn't see I was like, I just don't know. Or, like I was so critical of my own idea, but then talking about it with them, they saw something in it, or it spurred something in their heads, that made the idea seem viable. It's like, oh, we do this, or they were straight up, which one? The Whalesville one is one of those where I was like, I can't see it visually, and it's because I had come up with the idea for me to draw it, right? And then I was like, I don't want to draw this, and I don't know how the animals will look, and then I don't want to. It was just I couldn't get my head around the visual storytelling of it, And then when they gave it to Adam, and he did some character designs and everything, and I was like, oh my god, this is like, I always liked the story. It's just I couldn't get over the hump of how it would look, and then it seemed ridiculous, just typed out. But when I saw him draw it, I was like, oh yeah, this is how you do it.
That's cool. It's so refreshing as readers, as comic book nerds, to read something that isn't just like superheroes all the time, because that's all we talk about, whether it's WandaVision or Captain America and Bucky show. It's all those things and the speculation that is revolving around that. So it's really nice to read something else where it's like ENIAC, and it's like a story about a computer going nuts, and those types of things.
Yeah, no, it's that's the thing, is the older I get, the more I still enjoy reading some superhero books.
Yo, man, but ENIAC, bro, it's just such an 80s book, like it reminds me a lot of like stuff in the 80s, man, like the whole nuclear bomb's gonna happen if the computer takes over type of stuff, man. But it leads out to here, but it leads out to like now, and this rogue computer system is out there trying to like do the same thing they were, that they were doing in the 80s, so it's kind of dope.
I was just reading some old Avengers books like 2 days ago, and it was like John Buscema era. I don't know what year it was, but it was when West Coast Avengers, whenever that started. It was that era when West Coast Avengers first started. Yeah, but I was reading the cover is like Vision fighting himself, but there's like a robot Vision on the cover, and I'm reading that issue. I was like, this is exactly the plot of ENIAC, except it's Vision instead of ENIAC. It was the exact same plot to a point, right? Because it's Vision and it's something else. But I was like, oh, this is funny. He like kind of takes over the whole world's computers and has control of everything because he's gonna make the world a better place, and world peace and everything. So it's kind of funny to read an 80s version of ENIAC.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's funny, and it ends totally different. ENIAC does not end that way.
Oh, it was amazing. It was amazing to read. I mean, even the interior artwork is just everything about this comic. I gotta believe independent, lovers were just cheering from the highest mountaintops because I was just amazed by this story.
Definitely.
Yeah, I look forward to reading it because I'm not gonna crack that one, man. It's gonna stay.
But I didn't want to question real quick. If you say you really haven't dipped your toes in superhero genre yet, but if you could dip your toes and actually write a character in the superhero genre, what superhero would it be?
Yeah, I would do if I could just do exactly what I wanted. I would do Legion of Superheroes.
Nice.
Okay.
I have an idea. What's this funny? Like I don't sit around daydreaming about other like characters and what story I would do with them. But Legion, one that I'm like I have an idea. It would be great, and I would do it. But whatever.
I could see you. I could see it.
I can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I keep saying it because I get that question, and I'm just gonna keep saying it until they invite me to do it because that'll be.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Let's get it out there.
Doing it right now, right?
Yeah. Right.
There you go.
Hey Matt, do you and your colleagues see doing these comic book YouTube shows as like kind of the part of promotion these days? You know, with how everything is, so much social media and Instagram and YouTube, that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, I from the very beginning when I started in comics, when Pistol Whip first came out, and I went to San Diego. I was really excited. My first book's out, and I'm sitting at the top shelf booth to sign books, and like nobody shows up. You know what I mean? People walk by or they'll look at it, and then they'll kind of ask me what it's about, and I'm like terrified. I don't know how to describe the book, and so. I thought I'd made it right, and then the book's out. It's like a professional book, a real publisher. I'm sitting at the table, and it's like nobody cares, right? Like there's 1,000 books, and it's just one of them. And so I realized right away that doing the book and making the book that's the part one of two, and part two is just getting the word out and talking to people about it and just and helping people. Helping people see it because there's so many, and it's not just comic books. It's like now there's video games and movies and TV. There's so many things competing for your attention. And it's like, why should I take any time to pick this book up? You know, and then why, if I'm going to pick up a comic, why this one? And so I think when I approach writing something too, I'm always thinking, not of PR or anything, but it's like, well, why? I need to do something in this book that hasn't been done before, something that no other comic is doing or no other comic has done, and put that in here so that there's a reason that you should pick this one up over something else. You know, and I think every book I write, I kind of approach that way.
Mm-hmm. And related to that, you know, you hopped into this show, right? You getting to know all of us. Do you care to share, like, has there been any question or scenario from something like this that's been totally off the wall or weird that sticks in your mind?
No, man. I don't think there's nothing that's no, the worst question is like what's your favorite book you've read recently? And I can never remember. Like I never.
Oh yeah, man.
I just watched something, read something. So those are the only ones that really stump me.
I was just curious, is there any book that you've written that you'd want to go back and maybe now looking at it 10 years down the line or so and kind of go, I could tweak that, I could make that better? Is there anything that you would go back and change?
Or just revisit the world?
Even that.
You know?
I don't. What's funny is I don't go look at my books ever again. Like once they're done, I don't look at them. I put them on the shelf so that I can remember what I did by looking at it. But I don't look at them because I just once it's done. Like the last time I read any book I ever did or even look at it is when the PDF with the lettering comes and I approve that and then it goes to the printer and then I don't look at it ever again. Because to me I'm constantly writing the book until that stage. Like even when it's lettered, I'm going through and I'm analyzing it and rewriting lines and everything, driving my letterer crazy, whoever's doing it. Every letterer hates me. That's why I have a lot of different letterers. But and I always apologize, try to make it up. But yeah, to me it's like I want to get the book out of me and out and done, and then as good as I can do it. And then once it's done, I feel like that's the old me. Like the old me did that book, and I have a new idea that I'm excited about.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the same analogy to like a chef, right? They don't eat their food. They cook for people and then they produce it and they never look back. It's always a new dish or what's better. It's an added taste. So I could totally see what you're saying, Matt.
Yeah, right. You know, the closest that would come is like with some of the media stuff. Like I've had TV and movie options and stuff, and I'm working on some TV stuff now. And it is funny because it's forcing me to go back and look at a thing that I did, and in a way, not rewrite it, but it's an adaptation of it, you know. So it is, in a way, it is like you're reworking it and you're formatting it into something else. But I feel like because you're jumping mediums, that is exciting. I was like, well, how can, so like every book, like when I approach any book and I'm like, how can I do something in comics that hasn't been done in comics before, you know, and use the medium for what I can do. TV is the same way. And so if I take whatever I'm doing, it's like, well, how can we use TV and all the powers it has in a weird way that hasn't been done before? I tell the story or whatever, but and the characters, keep the character and everything. How can we tell it in a way that can only be done in television? That part's fun.
So Matt, you did mention that. So is there anything we should be looking out for in regards to like some of your projects that might see film or see in the small screen?
Yeah, I can't announce anything because they'll announce it when they announce it. Almost every book I have is option right now and being developed.
That's awesome.
Every book.
Yeah, congrats.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
Yeah.
I told my wife, I was like, this is the first time ever. Like I've always had one thing or two things maybe or whatever. Now there's like almost nothing left. No, it's good.
That's a great problem to have.
So pick up the catalog, is what you said.
Yeah, I'm not gonna
Buy everything.
You can't stop me from saying that.
Yeah, exactly. Buy everything. It's all good.
We're telling you out there to do it.
So Matt, let me ask you. Let's go into Berserker, man. Like, but first I want to know, like, how did you and Keanu meet? Like, how did that? Because I saw like on Bang, he gave a really good thing saying that it's a great book, and like, how did this is way before all this, right? Like, you guys probably met. I'm just guessing, you know.
Yeah. No, what's funny is it goes back further because when I was writing Grass Kings with Tyler, Boom called me, and I had never worked with Boom before. I didn't know Tyler. They're like, hey, Tyler has a concept, and then he really wants somebody to write it, you know, because he's not comfortable writing it, and they've gone through drafts and drafts, and I was like, I don't want to. That's his idea. I don't want to mess with it. And then like, who am I to come in and like write his thing, you know? And then they're like, no, talk to him. And Tyler's like, yeah. He's like, it's not working. I don't know. I was like, I'll look at the outline, and then I'll do it if I can just go in and like not care about your feelings at all, right? Just go in and like make it what I would do if I was going to do it, what I would do. And so I went through it all, and really he had basic ideas with like the people that live out in the wilderness. They're sort of off the grid and everything. And I was like, really, it just needs a murder. It needs a couple murders and a serial killer and like just more violence. So I did that, and we made a kind of a murder mystery to go in there too. And so that's how I started with Boom. And so we did a bunch of Grass Kings, and then they called me. I don't know when it was maybe when I was working on Black Badge. They're like, hey, Keanu's got an idea. Would you be interested in collaborating and writing it? I was like, I don't know. What's the idea? I was like, it's because there's a skepticism in me. I don't want, like, I love comics, right? I'm real protective of this art form and the medium, and I don't want to do a thing where it's somebody's putting their name on it and I'm just like ghostwriting it so that they can get a comic made, so they can get the movie made. I don't want to do that. And I told my editor that on the phone. I was like, I don't want that. And he's like, no. He's really excited about comics. He's got a good idea. And so I took the meeting, still skeptical, because I was like, I'll take it because this is cool. I can tell my daughter, like, hey, yeah. And I got in the room, and then we just spent the whole day. He pitched the idea to me, and then we just started brainstorming ideas, and we just hit it off. It was really, and he was super sincere about loving comics, wanting to make the comic. And even in the meeting, I was like, hey, I'm interested in making the best comic we can do. And then we do it together, and it's been that. Like, we spent so much time working together on like the outlines and the script and everything, and so we just kind of hit it off, and it worked, you know.
And how was it? How was it like? Cause you guys had to how did you guys develop the idea of a Berserker together? Like how'd that go?
It was good. Like from what I can remember. So this is a couple of 2 years ago. Gosh, it seems like it was a while ago. So I'm going to be fuzzy on the details, and I don't want to take credit or give credit or whatever. But his basic idea, as I remember, is like he wanted to do a character that has sort of he has this urge that builds up where he has to just like go berserk, right? And so he's not, and he even from the beginning, he's like, it's not the Hulk where he changes into something, or he's not Wolverine where he's just. It's this thing where it slowly builds up and he hates it, right? He doesn't, but he's got to put it somewhere. The idea is he's got to, this builds up and he has to use it to do something, and he can't die, and then he had some ideas for the ending. So like the last 4 issues, which I can't say anything about, but that was to me that was what sold me. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, that's super weird. Like I really like it because it's just gonna be crazy and weird. And so he pitched that to me, and then that first day I was like typing all notes and everything, and I went back to my hotel that night, and then just came up with like an outline and an idea for how we could frame the story and how we could do everything. And I came back the next day for the meeting, and the editors were there and everything too, and I was like, well, here's my outline, and I think it has to be 12 issues. And the editors were like, and Count was like, 12 issues, let's do it. Like and so they're like, okay, so they, I don't know, but they really let us run with it and like make it as big as we needed it to be. And he's immortal, and he you know what I mean? He was born 80,000 years ago. So we're not squeezing that into 4 issues.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that how much time commitment it was going to be to do 12. But it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's like me and him, we just want to make the best comic and make something that, again, is like nobody's seen it before, and it's going to be crazy.
Well, you got also beautiful art from Ron Garney too. I mean,
yeah.
How'd you guys pull him in there? Because he's phenomenal.
Yeah, no, he was coming off of a Marvel thing, and I think he was excited to take a break when we got to him, and then he's like, oh. It's one of those jobs you don't really turn down, right? Like, I would have turned it down if it had just been like a job to like cash in and like make a movie. I wouldn't have done it, But I think when we pitched it to him, it's like, this isn't that, and it's gonna be great, and then he was on board.
And it must have felt great to have the Kickstarter launch and just get crushed. I mean, you guys did amazing on that Kickstarter.
Yeah, no, it was a bummer because in the spring the pandemic hit, and like a lot of books I had that were going to debut, everything was in limbo, and so that was one of the books, and then and it was like, what are we going to do? And then they decided they wanted to do the Kickstarter, and I was like, we had some meetings with that too, and I was like, if we do a Kickstarter, you got to do it. So we had to be good to the retailers, and then make it something where that makes sense and helps the industry. Like the whole time is, to me, that I saw this as a good book to like revitalize comics. I've been working in it for 20 years, and I feel like this is a book that can help it. So I wanted them to be real careful with how they did it, and I thought they did a really good job launching it. And yeah, I couldn't believe it. I was like, it made me excited that there's that many people that want to read comics. They need a way in, or something to grab their attention.
This was definitely the attention grabber for sure, because the interior art's beautiful. I mean, the storyline, the panels just speak for themselves. He's just jumping out of a helicopter and smashing on, these mercenaries and just the total chaos. And it's just an amazing story. I mean, the dialogue as well. I know Alonzo had a question about the opening of him just sitting in that chair. Go ahead, Alonzo. I don't want to steal the thunder.
No. So we all know about the Keanu meme, right? About him sitting at that bench looking all sad and depressed. But you put it in a comic and reframed it. I mean, it's brilliant. Whose idea was that?
Here's what's funny. As I just talked about it to him this week because it came up in a different conversation or a different interview. Somebody had asked about it, like, and he didn't know about the meme, and until it was drawn, I didn't know the meme either. Somebody texted to me, a friend of mine texted me, and I was like, "Oh, what?" I never seen it before, and so neither one of us knew about the meme when we were doing it, and then it came out and everybody picked up on it, and but no, it's one of those. That was the scene he came in with. He's like, this is how we started out, and he was acting out like a lot of when we're scripting everything too. He'll act it out, or he'll have lines, and then that was one he came with. He's like, let's start it like this. He had the opening, so it's just funny.
That's so funny, man. Because I read it today, and that's exactly what I was like. Oh, the meme, they're doing the thing.
yeah. No, the only one that was semi-intentional was like the red blue pill that he pops. And that was
yes.
Okay.
Yes, I got that too.
Yeah, Bill Crabtree, the colorist, put that in there, and then we saw it, and then we were like, "Did he do that on purpose?" And so he's like, "Yeah, I did that on purpose."
So will there be a dog in any of the future books?
If there's a dog, there's a lot of things die in this book. So die at the hand of Berserker. So hopefully no dogs. We're gonna keep the dogs out of it.
And I also like the pacing of the book. Steve had mentioned like the dialogue, the art, and the pacing is phenomenal. I like how fast it's like you get in. It's like an action movie. It's like boom, 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 and then you get, once that part is done, then it's like, okay, then we pan to a different scene where it's like, okay, we get more backstory about him and why he feels this way. But I mean, it's very cinematic.
Yeah, no, it's I think it helped that we had 40 pages for that issue 1. It gave us time to really blow out the action scene, because you're not, with the 24-page book, we're not going to get that action scene in there. And I think that was one of the other things when we were writing it, is I was like, let's make a double-size issue 1 that we can do this. And then every issue we've been asking for more pages, because there's so much story, there's so much that we're trying to get in, that it's just, there's not enough space, and we are approved for more pages for issue 5 through 12.
Oh, so you guys are still in the process, huh?
Yeah, we are like 80% done with the script for issue 5. Like, we have an outline for everything, and then we have a really detailed scene by scene outline for 5 through 8. And then what I do is I just take our detailed outline, type it into a script format, and then we go over the dialogue and stuff and sort of tweak it. So it's like a 3 or 4 stage process for each.
Is Keanu still involved? Are you guys on Zoom?
Yeah.
Back and forth?
Zoom.
Yeah.
We Zoom till today, Saturday. Thursday night. We were up till 11. No, we were up till midnight on like Thursday, I think, working on it. So.
Wow.
No, I think we spent 7 hours total on one of the days this week.
Jeez.
Wow.
I wish I would fly on the wall for that.
And I do too. I was like, man, people, like, I told them, I was like, man, it's too bad people can't see how we're doing and what we're doing, and like the line readings. And then what's great is, like, we'll finish the script and then they'll read the line, read it all, like we're doing a script reading, and it's great because you can hear what lines work and what ones don't, and it helps with the rewriting. But I also wish everybody could see it because it's so great.
Man, I was thinking, like, I just thought about this. This is probably the coolest thing for COVID. You guys have probably been working on this during the whole thing, and just hanging out on Zoom and, creating a story, and just, you guys probably are really good friends. That's what I'm thinking, like, because you guys see each other every day, probably.
It's I can't believe it's so long, right? It's like, it's been 2 years, and it's good. He's a good collaborator, and it's like all this, whatever. I guess you've heard that before, but no, it is good. He's got a lot of good ideas. So as a writer, I'm always about the best idea. I'm always looking for them. So if somebody's just going to give me those, I'll put them right in there.
You should just hit the record button though next time you're on stream. That way, when this eventually, no. Let them know, obviously, but when they make the movie,
there you go.
They can use that as behind the scenes footage.
Yeah.
When they come out the special edition.
Yeah. No, I don't. Half the stuff we talk about, I don't want recorded.
That's just for you.
Yeah. I mean, what I got from the book, I read it like the other day, and it's really good. I gotta say, congratulations, man. The first issue lived up to the hype, for real. It's like all of us, Sith even talked about it on his Steve talked about it in his store on his book, and we all loved it. Like it's such a cinematic book, there's pretty minimal dialogue, and we're just taking on a ride through the art, and I really enjoy that because that's what comics are. You should be taken on away by the visuals, right? Since it's so cinematic, is this going to be moving towards that genre?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just of course it is. It's Keanu and it's a big book, and so it will be. But and I gotta respect Keanu where somebody asked before about it, and it's like he's like we're working on the comic. We're issue 5 is almost nailed down all the way, right? So we're focusing on that first, and then the movie stuff will happen. I mean, it'll happen later, but both of us want the comic to be great,
Yeah, it has a really good pace. I gotta say, man, it's just I was really into it. I mean, I read it the whole way through. Usually I read it halfway through and then I kind of jump back in after. And I think all of us read it all the way through. It's just such a well-made comic. And I appreciate that, man. Really, really do.
Cool.
Yeah, man. So are there any big things coming our way from Matt and Keanu? Like, are you guys thinking about doing something else?
Yeah, we talked about some other things. Mostly some Berserker. We have some ideas. We have ideas.
Come on, Choir minds want to know. Man. Come on. You're just messing with us.
They're like these fragile little eggs. You gotta wait for them to hatch. Yeah, we'll get there. But we still got. We're only on issue 1. There's 11 more issues of Berserker. So,
how about this?
Are they all going to be like 40 pages, like issue 1?
No. I think issue 1 is 40, and then it goes to 20 or 22, and then issue 5 they're going back up to 24 because there's just too much story.
Yeah, 40 pages is a lot.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt,
will we see a cameo of you in Matrix?
No. He was filming. He was in Berlin for that, and I was like, I'm not flying anywhere during pandemic. And
I know, man. Right?
There was no private jet money to get me over there, I guess. Plus, I gotta. I have a face for radio and a voice for comics.
Nice.
I don't belong in any media except
Go ahead, Steve.
Matt, do you and Keanu have any unrelated shared hobbies or interests that you've come across through this process?
He doesn't play tennis, which is a bummer because I play tennis, and then I just started boxing. So I'm like such a beginner level, so it's nothing. I'm trying to think of what else we have in common.
He's John Wick, man. He should be able to jump in the ring with you, man. John Wick, anytime, right? Yeah.
No, we like the same comics. We're a big fan of Frank Miller. We grew up with Frank Miller and Jeff Darrow and Hardball.
Oh, dude,
all that stuff, So it's I don't know.
There's been no music jamming on Zoom between you and him?
No, we talk about music and we talk about books and science and everything and whatever. Berserker is a pretty heavy book. It gets heavy, so we talk about a lot of heavy stuff.
All right. So I take it you're a big Daredevil fan
that's
too,
exciting.
Then? Since you're a Frank Miller fan?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
No, I just bought I didn't buy it. I don't spend any money on Fortnite, but I earn the money by grinding away at Fortnite so I can buy the Daredevil costume.
That's right. Yeah, we were, we now know that you're a gamer. So what game do you currently have in this cycle? I need to know.
I'm going to run down the list of them, right? So I started playing video games this year more because I've been working so much. I have to force myself to take breaks. And so pandemic, I'm like, what are we going to do? So I started playing. I bought a Switch for the family to use or whatever.
Nice.
So I played Animal Crossing all morning with my daughter and her friend. So we share an island. So we just kind of do it all together, which is fun. And then at night I play. What am I playing? I just started playing this game, Death Stranding. Have you seen it?
The travel game where you're
Yeah, you just
traveling
like
things.
you're just like delivering stuff.
Isn't the guy from Walking Dead
Hideo
in that game?
Kojima's a genius, and we're not supposed to say otherwise.
He's so that game is so weird. The visuals are so bizarre. Like I love you carry around this like little baby in a jar, and like the concepts for it are so. It actually was inspiring. I'm like, this is really cool. But
Wow.
yeah,
I wasn't being sarcastic. Hideo Kojima is a genius.
yeah.
He just go ahead.
It's smart and detailed, and like I don't know about games. I have a weird relationship with games. If they're too hard, I don't want to play them, and if it's too stressful, I don't want to be stressed out. You know, I like games that are easy, but then I also like I play Fortnite, and I usually play to like at level 100, and then I stop till the next season, and then I'm playing Apex now. Another friend of mine's playing Apex.
Yeah.
Yep, I know that game.
And that one's real hard. I like that. It's kind of hard. And what else am I playing? I'm just bouncing between those three right now.
A little bit of shoot 'em ups, definitely.
Right.
But I gotta say, Matt, if you have a Switch, when we get off of this interview, I'll send you my friend code, and we can Mario Kart race if you'd like.
Oh yeah, we do that with the studio. I share a studio with Brian Hurt and Marie Enger, cartoonists, and then once a week we go into the studio, and I have a big projector and a big screen, and we project Mario Kart.
Nice.
Playing it. And
Oh,
then,
yeah.
like, we can play at distance or whatever. So we just put our masks on distance and then play Mario Kart humongous.
Oh yeah, that's the way to do it. That is the way to do it.
And Matt, we really appreciate you coming on, man. Like this has been a great time, and but you know, like we're not done yet, man. We have to do our rapid fire questions. Are you ready? Are you ready for this, Matt?
I think
Are
so.
you ready?
I'm not ready, but go ahead.
All right, man.
I have a brain for slow fire, not rapid fire.
All right. So, all right. I know I don't want to put you on a spot, but what was your first comic book?
My first comic book, I don't know for sure, but it was either G.I. Joe #1 or an issue of Daredevil. The Daredevil where like he's on the gravesite and he's like, I don't know.
Oh yeah.
But, that one.
All right, cool, man. If you could play anybody in comics in a movie, who would it be? Anybody in comics. It could be DC or MCU, or it could be an indie.
And I'm the person playing him in the movie?
Yes. You don't have to be the main character.
Oh man, I don't know. How about MODOK? You could put me in a.
That's great. Oh, awesome, man. If someone came out to St. Louis, man, a friend of yours, where would be the place you would take them to have dinner?
Dinner? Ooh, boy, that's a tough one. There's a place near where I live called The Block, which is like the best steaks. They make the best steaks. And so that is where we would go. And then they also have a good old fashioned.
How about the barbecue, man? I heard St. Louis barbecue is bomb.
Yeah, barbecue's good too. It's not as good as like we go to Charlotte every year for Heroes, so they have really good barbecue there. And then Kansas City, I think has a little bit better barbecue.
Oh man,
what state is Charlotte in?
North Carolina.
North Carolina.
You hear that, Ian? North Carolina.
Yeah, man. When we go visit Kevin, man, let's go. When we go to Heroes,
we have a running thing where he loves Texas and I love North Carolina.
I'm a Texas barbecue guy.
Yeah.
But Matt, I gotta say, Matt, I haven't had St. Louis and I haven't had Kansas City, and I haven't had North Carolina. Man. So I will try. I will let you know, Matt.
Right. I haven't had Texas, so I can't tell you.
Yeah, man.
But St. Louis, like at least third on the list.
No, I actually met people from St. Louis that were in Texas, and they were they're just barbecue aficionados, man. You know, like, and they're all about it. Who is your favorite band? Please say something in the 80s.
There's no way I could tell you my favorite band. It depends on like what mood I'm in or what I'm listening to. My favorite band. If I was gonna go, I guess the question is like, if anybody was coming into town, who would I be most excited about?
Let's hear it.
I think Jack White probably. I go see
Jack White.
Good call.
I think he's
right.
Very
Okay.
nice.
And our last question is for everybody, because we're gonna do this for our friends out in Nerd Herd across the pond. These are guys that are in UK and in Ireland. And I'm gonna start with you, Matt. What is your kryptonite? Could be anything. For anything in your life.
General.
Oh, anything? Okay, I'll start a list. Donuts. Coffee.
Oh, yeah.
Although coffee is not kryptonite because it only makes me stronger. But donuts, definitely makes me fatter. Yeah, those are the big two.
All right, how about you, Steve?
It's got to be desserts, cheesecake to say the least. Oh my God, just you got to have cheesecake. I would say
cheesecake sometime.
Oh please, Jr. I will be indebted to you forever.
That's it. Your turn.
Oh man, a girl with a nice ass.
There you go.
Someone who's gonna
Sorry,
say
someone
it, right?
had to do it, Matt. I'm sorry.
I know. Just be honest. It is kind of. You know.
I'm being honest. That and obviously food. I mean, get in the belly.
Sith, how about you, Sith?
I'd say this.
Oh,
You know what's going down?
The COVID care package.
That's
Bro,
right.
like you have that right by you. Like it's not refrigerated. It's just sitting there.
We're YouTubers, bro, and after you have like the first 2 or 3, it don't matter if it's hot or cold. It's going down.
Steve is famous for popping his ultra lights on camera.
Well,
you know,
if you're gonna do a 7-hour YouTube stream, I don't want to be drinking Guinness because I will be doing who knows what in the 3rd, 4th hour. That baby Yoda is gonna be going crazy. So we got to keep it under control, you know.
Definitely.
All right, your turn, Alonzo.
My kryptonite, it's just like Steve's up there. It's dessert, and sometimes like I would actually order, be at a restaurant, I would order dessert first, so just to make sure that I would eat it, I would have it, and that way, if I'm full, I can take the entree home with me.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. You know, you don't want melted ice cream or like warm cake, right?
Yeah, it's not the way.
Right, exactly.
There you
So
go,
it's
man.
got to be dessert.
And I guess it's my turn. My kryptonite is my wife because she's the only one that can make me cry, man. Like, I'm a hard head, man, and like she's the only one that's be like, she'll give me that look, and I'm like, oh shit.
She hops in the YouTube chats, man. I see it.
Yeah, she does, man. I love you. How about you, Nick?
Oh man, I gotta say, I don't know. I told you guys know my story. I've been card shop kid my whole life. It's got to be collecting, man. I collect everything from coins to the comics. The only thing I never got into is action figures. Thank God, because I see what it did to Rob.
Yeah,
see, look
stay away.
I haven't even showed you, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, but I got a little baby Yoda here somewhere. But and then that, and my new thing is tea. I probably drink like 10 cups of green tea a day now. That's just
perfect.
I switched from coffee to tea, and
at least that's healthy.
It's supposed to be healthy, but it's all I drink.
Depends on how much sugar he puts in it.
Yeah, that's
no
fair.
sugar, just salt green tea.
All right, Rob, your turn, bro.
Besides collecting, obviously, Coke, soda. It's such bad for you, but I love it. Not
Thanks for the clarification. You were about to.
Lines, right?
Yeah.
That's you, bro.
Yeah, obviously that's me with this belly.
Yeah.
And that's our kryptonite for the cats over at Nerd Herd, man. We appreciate you guys inviting us into this. But Matt, man, we really appreciate you coming on and taking time out of your day on a Saturday and joining this motley crew of nerd herds here, man. And where can everybody find you? Like, do you have a website or do you have a Instagram or anything?
Yeah, I'm on all that. You can go to mattkindt.com, and I'm on Twitter at Matt Kindt and Instagram at Matt Kindt for real, and then Facebook too. All those places. I'm there.
Awesome,
for
man.
real. Matt Kindt for real.
Yeah. I forgot my password on the Matt Kindt one, so.
What is that shirt, by the way, Matt? Because I recognize part of the logo.
This is a
Battle Cap.
printer.
Wow.
Oh, that's
Nice.
dope.
Representing.
Yo.
Matt, you are a nerd. I love it.
One of us.
For sure.
Yay.
Well, Matt, we want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to join us. It's been a real treat. But do you want to take us out, Team Nerd Herd style?
If you want to do it right, collect what you like.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Boom.
That was
Oh,
awesome.
man.
Right
And
on.
There you go.